Okay, I'd like to call to order this Monday, February 6th meeting for the Urban Renewal Agency meeting, 6 p.m. Roll call, all counselors present except for Mr. McHugh, Counselor McHugh, who is joined us remotely. Not on yet, but he will be.
He has a conflict of interest with this application, so he shouldn't participate. And maybe that's why he's not participating in the work session, just to be clear.
Sounds good, but then at the end of it, we are talking about an EDC goal as well. Is that in this?
And that he could participate in.
Looking for a motion to approve the agenda. So moved. By Counselor Miller, seconded. Second. Santiago seconds it. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
for considered commissioners during this. Okay. Clarification.
For my clarification being new, is it just us or is there any partners, members that is besides the council that I?
We would just call you chair and you would call us. You need to. Sorry, that's okay. Yes, you'd be, members of the agency or commissioners, and you do need to elect a chair and vice chair this evening.
So we had a motion by Agent Miller and a second by Agent Santiago. Discussion, any more discussion? All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we do need to look to elect a chair and a vice chair for the Urban Renewal Agency. Looking for nominations for a chair.
I nominate Joe Backus to be the chair of the.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll do this one separate than the vice chair.
Urban Renewal Agency.
Any other recommendations, nominations? Motion was made by agency member Greisen. He's second
A second.
by Agent Holmes. Agency member Holmes. Any discussion?
Mayor, I'm sorry, I didn't catch it. Did we appoint a vice chair?
No.
It's next.
Oh, okay, sorry. Thought it was all in one, my bad.
Or discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Now I'm looking for nominations for vice chair.
Mayor, I'd nominate Kim Holmes for vice chair.
Any other nominations? Okay, we have a motion made by agency member Miller. Ms. Holmes, any second? Seconded by agency member LaFrance. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Moving on. Public comment. Assuming this works a lot like regular council meetings, any public comment? Not talking about the application that we're about to read. Anything handed to Ms. Reeves? Okay, seeing none. We'll close public comment. I need approval of the minutes, October 3rd, 2022 Urban Renewal Agency meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
Moved by agent member Greisen. Second.
Second.
Second by agency member Miller. Any discussion? All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. And now to old business. We have an application. We're going to look at a status of the active urban renewal application. NJ Johnson.
Good evening, Commissioners. So what this memo on page 6 of the packet does is just since there was a new membership of the agency at the last meeting, just summarizes some of the key summary points of what happened. So You began with 55,000 more or less in grant money to award, and 22,000 was awarded of that. That would be 7,000 to Cathedral Coffee and 15,000 to Healthy Smiles. With that, there remains about 33,000 left that you could award, or you could preserve any of that amount. It really is just up to the flexibility of the agency.
Now, do we, for our new members, we will look at these throughout the year? Not one time a year, you're looking for applications?
So yeah, the Urban Renewal Agency typically meets when there's business to discuss. So that would be an application gets submitted to the city. So yeah.
There's no set time of year, though. They could be submitted at any time.
And when would would we see our next allocation of funds?
Alex, if I'm correct, that's next fiscal year, right?
Correct. Same fiscal year cycle as the city's regular budget. And the funds that are currently in there have accumulated over a couple of years. And then there are certain amounts that will continue to be allocated over time. They do grow slowly over the years, but it's not a whole lot in the beginning.
I just feel like maybe for those that haven't been a part of these discussions, we could go in a little bit more detail, like when is our fiscal year? And then also about how much would, let's say we depleted this whole thing to zero.
I think she just wanted to know.
You want kind of a broad-based how urban renewal works or?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so just the fiscal year,
Yep.
you're running July to July.
Yep.
just like
And
our
then
committee.
let's say we deplete it down to zero within the next year, about how much would go into it again?
So I believe in the next couple of years, the allocations are somewhere around 28,000, and then I think the subsequent year is about 30.
So if we depleted it completely, we'd have to, wait till the next year to get.
Right. So if there's a larger project you're eyeing, it could take some time for it to accumulate, but it's not a kind of use it or lose it situation. It will, yeah, it just keeps growing if you don't use it.
And we would see the new money in July, if not in October. I mean, it's there at the beginning of the fiscal year. 1,000.
Yes.
Any questions? I mean, do we want to see there's some people here? Would we like to talk to them? And you guys can present or answer questions. In my real second one that I've witnessed and first one been part of, help on
This
procedures.
should be on.
I could quickly explain, we've got CC Pod LLC. We're looking at a grant application that you guys submitted for the food court. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Nick Earlman. I'm one of the partners, Schultz and Matt McHugh. We've got, we've been, I've been a part of this and seen some of the other things for
Either one.
this one right here. Oh, there we go. Should I beatbox or what? But we've been talking for a lot of years, and I've sat in on when we were even talking about food cart development code, and I've had this longstanding dream about this because it could be such a gathering place for the community, and there's definitely a need for what I call, being a CPA, and that's our main business, and just being a fan of entrepreneurs. It's such a cool space to see the food entrepreneurs, right? And they get to test that stuff, and eventually they go on and build their brick and mortar, once they prove their concept in a community. And so we've just for a long time wanted to kind of been tinkering and trying to find the right space and try and, and it's slowly kind of, when that property came up, I was like, this could be the spot. And so we were able to secure it and start this process. And it's, as far as the application, construction costs just keep going up, right? And we put a lot in so far, and it's stretched us quite a bit. And so it was like pretty cool that this, was available and, could give us a lot. Could help us actually get, further down that road a little faster and hopefully not get hung up in any step of the way. But yeah, and we've already been approached by lots of, carts and things that'll bring just diverse food options and just some of the leagues and like the cornhole league and different, I mean, just some of the community gathering things that we weren't even thinking of. They're already approaching us about like, hey, could we have Tuesday nights for our cornhole league? They're like, yeah, that sounds great. It's like how many different ways and just being so adjacent to the school for football games and, and baseball and all the other basketball, all those other sports. It's kind of good meeting place before and after. And soccer is, I mean, we have 700 kids that sign up for soccer, like where can we have some of those parties, if Fultano's is taken, where do you go? Or Ixtapa, like you just don't have a lot of options. So, I mean, that's kind of our big vision for it all. And it seems like we're in need of it. And
My one question is kind of right now, where are you in ways of breaking ground and what's your timeline guesstimate?
yeah, so we've got, we're doing the final bit of engineering and kind of pulling the permits right now. And so the goal is hopefully this next month to actually start breaking ground. It doesn't, I mean, it's hard to, poor Jeff, I think Jeff Spangs of Portrait Homes is building it for us, a local builder and good thing he's not here, but we can't hardly pin him down, cause you just don't know. There's so many materials and certain things that may hang it up at different stages. But for now we're right at that pulling permit process. And
I do remember last time we talked, they said March and that was 3, 4, 5 months ago and we're here.
yeah, we were hoping a month or two earlier, but
Yes.
So can you tell me again? I didn't catch it. When do you guys plan to break again? Is it this year?
in March we would break ground.
March, which
Yeah.
is next month?
Yeah.
Next month, okay. And there's an amount here for, I guess, a estimated cost of 1.4, right?
Yeah, that's
Is that,
the last time when we applied.
do you see that
It's
going
higher.
up? It's
Yeah.
higher? Is that just engineering? What exactly does that consist of?
No, honestly, that hasn't been so bad. I mean, there has been a little more lead up cost in engineering, but just materials, mostly materials certain materials are still rising. You would think as the economy kind of slows a little, we would hope for a little bit, but it doesn't seem to.
So just to, for me to understand, so then it's engineering and cost of goods and labor and all that
Yeah.
is estimated in this 1.4?
Yeah.
And getting the property, correct? That's just the building, not the property.
Well, that's full development. So, I mean, we're talking full improvements of every inch of that piece of property, for as far as parking, installation of all the utilities. So the food carts have, full utilities right at the food cart. So there's no, I mean, that keeps it nice and clean and, sanitary, but, yeah, including a 2,100 square foot building with the roll up garage doors and there'll be like, be space for a little bit of indoor music and things and lots of TVs for sports and, the bar, there'll be beer and that too. And
One of the maps I showed does show residency and garage, but that's gone now.
yeah, we had to take that down. We were having, homeless issues.
And you're talking, it will be well lit, sounds like, because you want evening. Will it be our code, our new lighting code that we're developing, or is there at a different kind of lighting then?
That's a different kind of lighting. Wow. Sorry. Yeah, that, the lighting we were talking about last time at EDC was specific to the downtown overlay. This is not, that area of the city. And yes, it meets our code. They've already been approved through the planning commission.
My next question was for Lori. In terms of what the planning department is seeing, there's nothing else you need to check off for this? They're ready to go, or is there anything else? we
So,
need?
we've already done our first review of their plan set. So, I think they are addressing comments. So yeah, by the time it's ready to go, I will be one of the, people who sign off on it, but they're absolutely on track. So I don't foresee any issues.
I personally definitely would like to help, so.
You mentioned that you already had some carts kind of lined up. You mentioned, I don't need names, but they
Right.
like number estimate?
Well, there's 11 spots and I mean, in our initial feelers and I mean, we're offering, we have one in St. Helens already and some of them would like to come or do a second card as well. And then, but yeah, we're we're having an application process so that we can make sure that we get a good diversity of foods. So, and I mean, I don't know if we'd be considered food snobs necessarily, but we definitely want it to be good, like, so it's like we are going through that process. We don't want to, we're not just trying to collect rent or whatever, like we want it to be awesome. So,
And you guys are handling the inside drinks and beverages, that part of it?
yes. So we have a separate entity for that, but we'll have that run the bar portion and then just be able to control the overall facility.
Control of the safety, any kind of monitors and safety people that's supposed to do then.
Yep, we would control the OLCC license through that entity and we'd follow all their protocol and map out everything and make it, I mean, our goal is 100% family friendly, right? I mean, but mom or dad can have a beer with their dinner or whatever, right? So.
Thank you.
So question, are you asking for any of, say, I know it was said that we have 20, what is it? 33,000? Are you, are you seeking any funding from that or? If,
I mean, I think we put the maximum on the application just because of the rising costs and how much more. So we've had the money secured with the loan, to go through that process, but every time there's more engineering or addition to the cost, I mean, that's 100% out of pocket. And so that's been rising quite a bit. And,
my second question to that is, do you guys have other means of funding this project? Besides, obviously 33 is not going to be enough, but do you have other means of funding to complete the project?
I mean, you mean outside of just us partners or?
Other ideas of you're using funds to develop this project?
I mean, right now we're definitely trying to self-fund basically our portion. I mean, WANA is our loan for the construction part of it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I'm the kind of owner manager of Cascadia Home Loans and have lots of relationships and lending around town. And we've got our construction loan already funded. Well, not funded, but it's already pre-funded by WANA. And so they're just waiting for us to make our first draw request. The way the loan works is that, so for example, like let's just say it was $1 million just to make the math easy. We would have to come in with 25% of our own money. So the first few draws, so to speak, come out of our pocket. And then once we've hit that kind of a landmark, that's when we start asking for the draws from WANA, and the WANA money takes us to the finish line. That makes sense?
Yep. Okay.
Question?
Yes.
So is there like a specific next step or piece of the project that a grant award would change the outcome or the timeline of this project? Like, is there anything you're considering foregoing if you wouldn't get a grant award or?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I mean, we may have to cheap some, finishing stuff, right? Like that would be the finish line sort of stuff. And honestly, I mean, that we probably wouldn't, but we would stretch us pretty far. That's probably the bottom line, I guess, but.
Looking at like a holistic thing, so we have it compartmentalized.
Okay, so and if you were, so when you hit that 25% of the personal contribution, then that catalyzes the lending for completing the rest of the project.
Well, right. Well, what happened is that the estimate for the total project would rise, and therefore our 25% would rise. So this is keeping our 25% at the what we were hoping was going to be 25%.
Okay.
But yeah, but we haven't really compartmentalized like this is for X and this is for Y. It's the way that the construction loan works. It's an overall estimate, and we're responsible for the first 25% of the combination of all parts.
Based on your original bid, your original quote, what they originally thought it would cost. They're not raising that up, no, gone up.
No, they will.
You have to,
Yeah.
yeah.
So Jeff, Porter Homes, Jeff Spang is always revising what the total cost is. And for example, our last piece here is something where we're potentially changing the roof line a little bit just to make sure that we're in compliance. And so that will be part of the next estimate. And then, so each time a change is made, for example, to begin with, we did like bioswales, and we ended up doing more like manhole style stormwater management. So for example, all of those changes, once they've been made, get added to the kitty, and then we put the 25% down of the new total.
And then if I could just throw in, at the end, you know, the credit union's only going to loan to a certain amount, and then we're responsible. We're responsible on the front end. We're responsible on the back end, and probably where the grant would help us would certainly be being able to finish it and putting the finishing touches on it as well. So, you know, we don't know exactly how it's all going to pan out, but definitely thinking long term when we're getting to the end, we're probably going to be back in our pocket the way the project has gone and the way that the costs have gone up. Certainly is a concern to put those last finishing touches on this grant would definitely be helpful.
I just want to clarify something for the applicants as to why we're asking some of these questions. So usually if we give money, we want to know that there's the financing to complete the project so that the money that we give is not wasted, so to speak. You later find out that, you know, you can't afford to do the whole project, and therefore the money that we gave you is just kind of lost. So we're not trying to dive into your financials or anything, but I just want to provide some clarification as to why we're asking these questions.
Yeah, I would say that like outside of that, we would potentially have, you know, we could find more investors. There's plenty of people that would ask, but like, you know, we want to be able to maintain our vision too. So it's kind of that's probably the biggest challenge in that.
And this being pretty new to us too, I mean, are we setting precedent every time we vote and decide on money, and so it kind of continue? And can they come back and apply at a later time? Is there a time limit before they can apply again? Any of these companies apply for more money every year?
We kept the parameters pretty loose, but I believe, oh gosh, now I don't have it right in front of me, but I believe they can keep reapplying. It just might be that there is a limitation on if it's the same project.
Scope of work.
Yeah,
Was
but we kept it very broad and general so that you all had a lot of discretion on what you wanted to support and fund.
Okay. Yes.
I guess what my concern would be, if we can maybe hold the application, if it's something that if for them to reapply, it has to be a different scope of work. Because it seems that it's not, to me, from what I hear right now, it's really most useful. The funds must come, you know, maybe more useful at the end versus the beginning. That's just from what I'm hearing.
I guess so. We have to put they continue to adjust the down payment amount. So the bigger chunk will be due at the beginning. And then at the end, whatever the big chunk didn't cover comes in at the end. So it's really all kind of the same money. And it would be great to have it at the beginning, because then we might not need to put it in at the end.
And do
Or
you
put in
think
less at
that
the
would
end.
be considered money that you have spent onto it? So less money that you would have to pay up front. It would go towards your 25%.
Right. It really helps with out of pocket expenses, as those have been higher than, yeah, we would like. Of course, they're nice to have them lower.
Any thoughts of how to proceed? I mean, I believe you guys are ready. You guys are breaking ground and having some bills come due fairly quick. Appears.
Can I ask, this is the only application in front of us.
We had four a while back, and Cathedral Coffee was awarded 7,000. Healthy Smiles was awarded 15,000, which was portion of the 50,000 they requested. Cathedral got their full request. There was another one that wasn't ready that said back maybe at a later time, I believe. And then these guys, they weren't quite there yet and said maybe at our next meeting. Those are the 4 applications we've seen so far. Correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
I'm completely for the whole idea. I'm really excited about it. Just want to put that out there. I just don't know if we can, if you're looking at the full amount, I don't know if 33,000 would be the best for this particular project right now where they are. But maybe a partial. I just don't feel comfortable depleting it completely.
Do we remember Healthy Smiles' full extent of their build was in the $1 million range?
Oh, yeah, it was definitely, it's a dental clinic and
Yeah.
it's, yeah, high value. More than likely it was more than this.
It was several million.
Correct. Yeah.
Can I add something? Just, my argument would be the impact of this would far outweigh, I think, coffee shop or dental office. So I'd be in support.
Just for background, does the city get any revenue from the operation of say like a food cart business? Like, are there any sort of like taxes that we're getting from liquor sales at restaurants, business? No business license tax?
So, I mean, I think we get some state shared revenue from alcohol sales, but I mean, as far as directly to the city, not so much. It would just be property taxes,
Right.
really. I mean, there
talking
wouldn't
about,
be
yeah,
anything additional beyond that.
yeah, you're just talking about property taxes. There are state shared revenues on alcohol and some things like that, but nothing that would be coming directly to us. The big thing, as with anything, is that this money's being reinvested in this urban renewal area to increase the tax increment finance, the value of the property in the urban renewal area. That's the whole point. So you are looking at increasing the value of the property itself and increasing the taxes.
Christine?
Christine Turner, Economic Development Committee Chair. I just have to say that as I'm the next agenda item, I think that we would definitely be setting a precedent if every new building comes to you and asks for money, and now we've exhausted with Healthy Smiles and the food carts, then we have no money for, I think, the heart of what the program is supposed to be. So in considering giving all of the money away for like a blank check, and we don't really have something specific, like, I don't know, like the SDCs or an espresso machine, I think that you're setting a precedent for every business to come here and say, we want money to start our business.
I agree. I would definitely believe they're in lines to getting something, and I just kind of trying to kick around what that is. We make a decision now, we can't just change it or come back. And so, I'm looking for recommendations or ideas.
Could we also get a sense of like how many applications you anticipate receiving over a year or historically have over a year's time period?
These are our first 4 because the program just kicked off. So we don't really have a good sense of what to expect moving forward per se.
Now, on the next agenda item, my proposal is that our group market this program to all of the businesses in the city of Scappoose. So they're made aware of what this program is and its offerings. So again, as we have only received 4 applications, I would think that with our efforts, more businesses would be able to take advantage of this program.
Chair? I don't know if this would be Alex, Peter, or Lori, but context for those that are new to this group. What is the purpose of these funds, and why would we be awarding funds to one project and maybe not another? What is the goal of this money?
So every city can have their own program. You have a very flexible program, and the past council, they were kind of focused on 2 different things. One would be providing first mile or last mile dollars to businesses that would come in, improve a property, therefore generating more property taxes that would go into the urban renewal system. And urban renewal is unique. So there's a frozen tax base. So it's the value of that property at the time it goes into urban renewal. And then any property taxes on improvements to that property goes straight to us. So normally they would be shared with different special districts and other government entities. Instead, they go to you as the Urban Renewal Agency. The goal being to reduce blight and to increase prosperity in the community overall. So if you're looking at a couple lenses to look at it through, there's some cities right now. City of West Lynn is a lot of their downtown buildings are being painted, so that might improve the aesthetics, but it's not going to generate any tax dollars because a fresh set of paint doesn't increase your property taxes. The other way to look at it, which is how Hillsborough kind of initially did their program, was what's the minimum amount of money we can provide to get the highest increase in assessed value on the property, because that will feed into the urban renewal district and allow us to shut it down more quickly. So once all the projects are funded, then kind of the goal is to shut it down. And so if you look at Romler Acres, which became Intel, that was in urban renewal for 9.5 years versus 50 or 30. And then they had paid for all the infrastructure, and so they shut it down. And then all of their partner jurisdictions like TVF&R and the Parks District then all got their increment returned to them for future growth. So those are kind of the two different lenses that councils will often look through. One is beautification, and then the other is return on investment.
I think there's a little, Alex, do you want to add more to that? Specifically, I think there were like kind of sort of two ways, are they adding to the tax? Is this project going to add to the tax base? And then do you mind just in terms of these grant applications?
You mean just in terms of the fact that there's two different applications, one for existing and one for new development?
No,
or-
for example, I can't speak to what the last council did and whether we should or shouldn't have awarded $7,000 to Cathedral Coffee, or whether we should or shouldn't have awarded what we did to Healthy Smiles. But
Sure.
With this agency, what kind of an application should we be looking for in order to fund it in terms of, I'm hearing a lot of things in the room, like we shouldn't fund, every new business. We should fund a business that's going to do X, or,
I think the general intent was to increase the value of the property so that it would generate more tax revenue. That's really kind of at the crux of it. What you're really looking for are ways to make the properties more valuable. And so you looked at, the previous agency was looking at facade improvements, and I think there were some internal or interior improvements that might have been allowed, but generally speaking, I think they were looking more to exterior and then also to new construction, whether that was defraying the cost of, development for someone or something like that. So, but ultimately at the end of the day, the point is to increase that tax base. And that's really the whole purpose of urban renewal in terms of, removing blight and making the community more prosperous, as Peter said. So that's really kind of what you're looking for. Again, the program was built with a lot of flexibility, so you could be creative and think of a lot of different options. But really at the end of it, you're really, I think what you want to focus on is something that will increase the tax base.
And just a point of clarification, Alex, do you recall, I know we're very early into our urban renewal district right now. In the future, is more money flowing in after, like, say, years 10 to 15 and so on to this specific project?
So there is more money that's going into this over time. I can't remember exactly how much it ends up being, but yes, this does increase over
roll
time.
up, okay.
But it's not a huge amount in
Right.
general.
Right.
Your plan right now is actually very infrastructure heavy. I think it's about 60% really of the total funds are already earmarked for projects to go to infrastructure, so that what we'd hope to do was reduce the need to increase basically utilities costs to the community. And so that was kind of the idea of really having an infrastructure heavy plan. But a lot of the projects that that went into developing the plan are already laid out. It's not that there can't be any changes there, but it is pretty well spelled out. And the grant program is there throughout the duration, but it's not huge in comparison to some of the other projects that are funded.
Santiago.
So grants are basically is awarded to make an impact. Most grants. I work with a lot of grants, so that's basically how is that grant money going to make a difference, and how is that going to improve it, or how is that money going to improve that business to grow or whatever. And so I'm not hearing that there's a specific type of it called out a certain amount because they need it for this in order to impact their project or move the project forward. I don't hear that if they don't get the money, that they won't move forward. It seems like they will, no matter what. So I don't just, I don't feel comfortable giving them the whole amount. I'm sorry, but that's
Agent Holmes.
Yeah, and I would just say for context, I've done some quick math here. So the consumer price index has gone up 8.5% over 2022. And so if you apply that to the 1.4 million, we're talking $119,000 increase, which I sympathize. That's a lot. But then I'm struggling to understand, how does even $15,000 really help to move that project forward in a meaningful way?
I'm kind of trying to look back. Obviously, this is a new agency, so we can reset precedent probably. But looking back at what was previously done, I mean, Healthy Smiles was in a similar boat, starting up they had existing business and existing employees, but they're starting to build a whole new business. I kind of looking to compare it to that.
I would encourage those that are new to the agency to take this as an opportunity to not look at the first two projects awarded, but look at this as an opportunity to set the precedents moving forward.
I think the question maybe was posed but never answered. Did we get a sense of like, are there estimates on how much this would increase in the city? I know that's hard to estimate.
Yeah, we don't, I mean.
But it was residential, was it not?
It was previously in a residential use in a commercial district.
Would it have to go up?
You would think it would
Okay.
definitely increase being developed with the commercial use.
We just don't feel comfortable putting a number on.
I couldn't even,
We really couldn't say, but generally speaking, you're going to get more taxes off a commercial building than you would a home.
it's developed out all the
Right.
way as opposed to, a single house on a
Right.
large lot.
Okay, that's a fair assumption. So to
Yes.
me, it fits
Mm.
the
The
original
intent, yes.
really well.
But I'm looking at you're talking 20 to 40 new employees. I mean, does each cart has 2 to 3 employees?
Yeah, if they don't run it themselves,
Yeah.
we have 5 or 6 in the Hawaiian cart in St. Helens. So times 11.
So it's 5 or 6 ways for you, and then the carts are independent.
Right, we would have more than that, just staffing the bar, and we have our own cart there, which is not for sure. If we have other better options, we'd take them. But if they don't run it themselves with like one helper or something like that, so at least 2 per cart, but
Count those as jobs. We're providing jobs for them. I mean, that's jobs in our city.
I'm going to say one more thing. This just goes off of what Peter and Alex had said, and we were, as the Economic Development Committee, we were part of making this urban renewal thing happen. We did a lot of the upfront work to present to council, and our intent was to work on the facades of the buildings and make Scappoose a little bit more aesthetically pleasing and offering these grants. And I believe the sum was $2,000, and it was a matching grant. So $2,000 for paint and some facade improvements versus a new espresso machine.
I do look at
Again,
that.
for the
and I'd like to
betterment of the
see-
community.
Like to see the money start going towards that sum, but I do think we have other programs that can help them as well that I know we're looking into and you guys are looking into. But I think this program deserves a look as well.
Yeah, so I think, the question about the jobs being created is an important one. When you're looking at your applications for for the food carts, where are they primarily coming from? Are they coming from Columbia County? Are they coming from Portland?
Honestly, it's a mix. We have people that are like, oh, as soon as this ready, you know, I live in this neighborhood right here, and some of them have food carts already in Portland, and they're like, this will be so great. I'll be able to live, you know, work where I live too. So we've gotten 3 or 4 that way, and then yeah, the other ones are probably predominantly Portland, and they have a few other parts already.
Accepted any yet.
Yeah, they've all applied, or you know, they're in the application process, but.
Looking for advice. I mean, are we ready to make an award amount? Is there a way to get a feel of the room?
Mayor, I'm going to abstain from this vote due to potential conflict.
I think, sorry, maybe the best way is to get a pulse on whether people are interested in awarding them anything and before we even talk about a number. So if, you know, if there's an interest in even entertaining this application, thumbs up, if not, thumbs down, or you can directly ask each.
Yeah, I mean,
Member.
thumbs up then if you think we're ready to entertain an award amount, the amount.
I think Councilor or Commissioner McHugh has his hand raised online.
He's not,
He's
You-
recused from.
I believe he's recused from this matter.
Yes.
That might be what
I
he
just want to remind you that I'm recused for this process, so thank you.
I'm good to discuss an amount. Anybody else?
If we don't discuss an amount now, then there would just be a modification. Like if there were a specific ask of, you know, come with more tailored request for a certain sum with direct demonstrated impact, that would be an option.
Yeah, I mean, you really have the flexibility to handle this however you like.
I mean, come with like engineering fees for an engineering job they would like to see paid or a specific amount.
More saying if we were awarded $15,000, it would enable us to move to this stage more quickly or build in this feature that we think would be a benefit to the community.
I agree. I think if it's something that if this amount of money will make an impact or will, you know, or for example, you're talking about the carts, you know, if some of the people that are food carts they're in Portland and they live here and they need money to be moving into this area. So you'll get more carts, you know, you get your carts here. Something that's yeah, it's not outlined for me well enough to say this is the amount of money that's you're gonna need and this is what's gonna make an impact. Or it's I just don't believe that what I hear is this project can still continue. And maybe on a later date with you have more clarification, then maybe you can ask for that amount of money.
Okay, that would definitely, I mean, like agency member Grayson said, you know, not looking at the last 2 because in the last 2, one of them we did just that. You know, they were going to be able to continue, and an amount was given, arbitrary amount given to help. Nothing specific that I recall was told. So if that's the case, then we're setting new precedent, which I'm fine with. What would the time frame be? I mean, are we talking the next urban renewal meeting? And that's set based on when we have something to go over. No set date for that meeting at this time.
Correct. There's not generally enough business to have regular monthly meetings, and so it'd just be whenever you all council.
They could come back next month with a request, but have to be at urban renewal meeting.
Yes.
Do we have open work sessions?
Given your current agenda schedule, I'd say that might be April.
We have to vote in this setting
Yes,
amount.
correct.
Meeting, is your pulse then? Did you have a thumbs up, thumbs down? Nation?
As a member of the last voting round, it it did not sit well with me, the conversation or how we played that money out. And now we're kind of stuck in a spot with what we're left with. And I think we need to keep building up that stock. And I'm anxious to hear what follows from the Economic Development Committee in terms of reviewing with us what the goal is and what the look fors are. As a developer myself, I understand the stress and strain of doing a project to this amount. So I'm very empathetic to the cost that it takes to put something together like this. I do want to say I'm very excited and thankful that you are pioneering something like this. This was the goal when we changed the code for food carts, to have something amazing like this. So thank you.
I mean, that's what I would add too. It's a bigger risk. It's an unknown. It's not a,
Yep.
not an apartment complex that, you're just going to fill right up, right? Like it's still, even though we think we got a lot of food carts, like economy hits, well, what if we're, sitting there in a huge mortgage payment, right? That we're still paying the property taxes.
We'll serve a lot of beer and wine still.
Right.
And I'm sure you're always going to need help and assistance. So whether we do this today or April, you'll still need it, I'm sure. Matt. Oh,
It's for
it records it.
Well, just to be clear though, I would say that we are going to do this whether we get that money or not. So is that a threshold we have to meet, or isn't it? Other than that, I'm sure that we could put things in context so the money would go towards a specific aspect of the program. But I don't want to be dishonest about it. We're absolutely going to go forward. If I have to put a second mortgage on my house, we're going to get it done. So I mean, this isn't a matter of make it or break it for us. It's a matter of maybe taking some stress off of us and trying to make us meet the threshold, maybe with some nicer features or something like that, but nothing that we have. We might be able to put that together by April, but no matter what, though, we're not like, this isn't going to break us if we don't get it. So if that's I think it's probably a good time for you guys to decide if that's like a mandatory criteria or not.
Taking the pulse, did you have something then you thought you would like to see in April? Something they could come back with? I mean, it's a specific thing they can address that would change.
Well, I mean, just with other grant programs, this is certainly the first one that I've had to judge kind of through the lens of urban renewal. But typically with grant programs, yeah, you have a very direct impact associated with the money that's being requested, so that it can be kind of justified and then measured for success, right? Like, did that money produce the desired outcome? And I guess it's just kind of absent as the application is currently reflected.
Yeah, and I think it was just in the interest of the previous council and Urban Renewal Agency to keep it as flexible as possible. That was repeatedly, the goal was to keep it flexible so that there was as much, option to do what you wanted as possible. Because frankly, if the desire then is to change the parameters around how you're awarding grants, then staff would need to know that to reflect that in the application.
I think with a new agency that it might be good for us to do that. See if three of us have different views than in the past that might want to have different parameters on there.
And maybe pull together some examples of how other communities are structuring their criteria for grant awards.
I think it looks like we're kind of making our new precedents now with new agency and revisiting it and coming up with a different parameter or revisit it.
And Alex, we don't have to change the project within the scope of the urban renewal plan. We could always change the application form separate from that, correct?
Yes, because it's still a grant program. You're just talking about changing the parameters that they are scoring applications on, based upon essentially.
Okay.
It wouldn't even be a minor alteration.
No, I didn't think so. I just wanted to clarify, we're not bringing back on an additional money to have our URA consultant, redo anything, so.
No.
We could do that
Educate
in-house.
us on what we want this to go. Christine? We need to still meet with EDC and go over the EDC part. Will we get to 7, will we still continue to do that work session?
Yeah, this part shouldn't take
Okay, well,
more than 10 minutes, so I
we
think
need
you can
to-
get through this part.
I guess we will table. I would like to maybe discuss further and look at, to keep this application open, obviously, and then revisit it at the next meeting. If anything changes, I mean, for direction.
I think we're about to have a discussion that's going to help us be a little refined in our decision making and give us a little bit more of a lens or real tunnel on how we should look at these projects. So I think, after we hear in the next few minutes, maybe where we might end up.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure a way to close it, but I think that's it for now. And then when we get through Christine, I think, well, like she said, it will clear up some stuff.
So just one question real quick. So whenever we come back for another Urban Renewal Agency meeting, is there something you're actually asking this applicant to bring back that's different? Or are you saying that you want to revisit the whole program and then give them instructions on what
Yes.
they need to bring back?
I think the process is going to change a little bit, and so we'll go through that new process. Have more, Lori?
No, because I'm a planner and I think of the goalpost rule, you don't change the game,
Right.
you don't change the rule in the middle of the game. I don't think that applies here, like technically, legally, but it's just something to consider.
So can we close their application and just say like deny their application or their grant? And then if they want to apply with the new
I don't think you
terms,
need to deny it. I think
Okay.
that you can just let it kind of set like you did this last time, where you asked it to come back before the agency so that you could have a conversation with the applicant because they weren't here last time. So I don't think that there's any need to deny if you want to have an ongoing conversation about this. Obviously, it's not going to be built and they're not going to be moving in within the next few months. So you certainly have time while they're in construction even to be kind of making a decision about what you want to do, in my opinion. Do you agree?
It's fine.
I think a core question to think about is what are you hoping to achieve? So using the last two that were provided funds as an example, the pizza oven or the oven is not going to create any increment, real tax increment versus a new dental center will create a lot of increment into your property tax. So if you're looking at it through, that's kind of the lens is do you want it to be kind of a beautification process or to assist a local business, or do you want to create as much increment as possible? And depending on which road you want to go down, those are very different types of projects that you want to fund and not fund.
Yes.
So I think that's what we're going to discuss. But from what I recall, being part of, it was kind of in the middle of that decision of the applications. I believe there was only a certain amount of applications. There were 4, right? And so my understanding was that we had a pot of money and we had 4 applicants. And how can we divide this pot of money into 4? That's how I saw it. And me, like I said, I was coming in the middle of application process. So maybe the parameters are a little bit different now, but I do, what you said, Peter, I do think that that's what we need to discuss and establish.
Okay. Let's Christine, her thing, and might be able to revisit this in a few minutes. Goes as I could. Dean Turner, EDC Committee Chair.
Thank you so much for giving me this time. I'm so excited that I was able to experience this process. And sad that my head didn't pop off. I think that you guys all have a copy of the letter that was presented from our committee as part of, this is part of our goals, is to review these grant applications. And I think, again, just in this process that you guys have had to go through in front of the applicant, I think that it might make this a little bit easier for you and less comfortable maybe, in that we as business owners and developers and construction owners should be able to kind of just preview these applications and make sure they are in alignment with what the Urban Renewal Agency and the city expects to get out of these grant applications. As I previously stated, we talked about, using these grants to help beautify Skephouse and to make it, a little bit more like, I think, Sandy and all these other little communities that are cute and desirable, unlike Skephouse as we are right now. So that, I think, was very much the objective, in more facade improvements and less inside improvements. So with this, the EDC, I think there's 7 of us right now, would be able to review those applications and kind of give you our opinions and then present them to you. And then, of course, you guys make those decisions, but we would give you our recommendations. And then furthermore, I would like to, with the city's marketing material and the applications, go to each business and kind of tell them, hey, this is out there for you. This is an availability to do the improvements that you're looking for in your business. So that's just something that we were hoping to assist council with, this agency.
Questions?
I appreciate the partnership with EDC, and I think that's really important. This is basically the purpose of your group, right? Is yes, this is the meat of it. I do think it would be helpful, though, for this new body that sits up here to understand clearly about, the purpose is to increase the tax base. That could be with an improvement inside, that could be with an improvement outside, but that the whole purpose is that we are generating something more for our community. And so I think it will be great to get a narrative from EDC, but also that we keep in mind, just because it's an improvement inside or it's improvement outside or it's facade or it's a new build, like that we just keep the same, what's the end goal that we're trying to get out of it. Then I think we can make really good decisions together.
Do we need to do anything then on this? It's a goal recommendation. Do we need to adopt? Does it need to just say approve? Is it a vote?
It would be a vote to approve.
What we're looking at doing is, 1 through 5, when a grant application comes in, EDC would look at the grant first and do 1 through 5. Give a recommendation to the county, to the agency.
I have a question. Is this, of course, the step is missing, I guess, before. Are they going to come up with parameters, or are we going to come up with the parameters to set for them to review?
I think we have parameters, and I would like to review what our prioritizations are and what we would like to see, and present that to the EDC. I mean, working with EDC, we all agree what we're looking at, and then they'll do the applications.
Yeah, I think ultimately you guys make those decisions, but we as economic development, we had our idea with the Urban Renewal Agency on the betterment of Skephouse and how it would benefit all of the citizens.
I feel good that, for me personally, I feel good for your committee to come up with the rules and policies or whatever you guys have the idea, and then present that to us.
Okay. To do that.
I'm noticing the time. I still have a couple of comments. What should we do about that? Can we move to continue the conversation after 7? I move that we continue this Urban Renewal Agency meeting after the start of the city council meeting.
Second.
Motion by agency member Grayson and seconded by agency member Miller to continue with the meeting. Any discussion? Favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, we're going to adjourn. We're going to adjourn the meeting